So, hi, Long Rise Podcast. I'm Shane.
I'm Glory.
Throwback Thursday, recorded on a Thursday, posted on a Monday.
Damn, we're getting good at this shit. We're
Recorded
getting
an
good at it.
hour after our scheduled time because we
Yeah.
just bullshitted for an hour instead.
We were gossiping like girls. It was awesome. It was so awesome.
Yeah. We're friends or something like that, too. It's kind of weird.
Something like that, right?
Yeah.
We're just
We don't just get on Zoom and be like, all right, what band are we talking about today?
no, Shane. I'm not gonna get into it. I'm not gonna
Yeah, we don't even talk about business. We have like one business meeting a year. It's fine.
Yeah, and it's at the beginning of the year. That shit's already done.
Yeah, what are we doing for the year, Glory?
I don't know.
Your guess is as good as mine.
Yep.
But yeah, we're chatting about Bring the Horizon continuing on through their discography. Last week we chatted about Count Your Blessings and Post-Human Next Gen. That review's already out because we talked about it when the album came out. But we're making our way through the discography. Coming up here on their 2008 album Suicide Season. Very exciting stuff. This is where it starts to switch.
Yes, absolutely. This is a massive turning point in their discography. This actually shifts them from deathcore, which is what they were doing for their last couple projects, to something leaning more metalcore, almost new metal vibes. There's a lot of Slipknot influence in this. So there is just a massive fucking shift from their last release to this one, and I think it's so cool to witness. After listening through a couple times, I definitely understand why a lot of people like this. I do think majority of it is if you are a Bring Me the Horizon fan and you're able to easily distinguish the two different eras, it's a much bigger deal. But outside looking in, I think it's a solid fucking record. Because we did just review their debut record, you could obviously tell that the mixing and mastering, the production, everything is a lot crisper. It's a lot cleaner versus the first record, which is so fucking grungy and so grimy and muddled, and you can't really distinguish
You asked where the
anything from
bass was.
anything. I I don't know. Still looking. I don't know where the fuck.
We haven't found it
Anyways,
yet.
never found it. I think that this record's incredible. I mean, they include fucking choruses. There are a lot more. Uh, Ollie definitely demonstrates his vocal range a lot more on this record, where he isn't just kind of like wailing into a mic for an hour this time. He's actually screaming, he's singing, and then there's still that death metal influence, which is great. Um, can you tell I liked this record like a little bit more? I'm about to like review shit now. I don't know.
I couldn't even tell based on your reaction this morning when we were like kind of sort of talking about it before we did this. I'm like, I don't think she liked it.
I was like, because I honestly, for Chelsea Smile, I was like, I don't get it. Because this is like their big song from this era. So I guess because I'm looking at it from 2025 perspective, where I've heard this, I played these games before, I've heard these sounds before. But this album is why I hear these songs and these sounds now. So this is Suicide Season is a major influence for a lot of metalcore now, whether they want to acknowledge it or not, or whether you can distinguish it perfectly or not. It's still built into the ancient texts of metalcore, where it's kind of the basics.
Ancient text.
I think it's a solid fucking record. As I mentioned, I really like the different vocal abilities that Ollie kind of demonstrates on this record. You could tell he's damaging his vocals a lot on this. I'm not sure if that's like lore or anything where he had to take like a vocal break. I'll probably look that up because I heard his voice a couple times and I was like, that's not sustainable at all. I know your voice was hurting after that. My favorite tracks are the title track, Suicide Season. I did read up on that one because it was just a lot more emotionally driven, in my opinion,
Yeah.
compared to the rest of the album, but that's because it had slower parts, it had a lot more theatrical parts. There were a lot more instruments, like there was some strings on it. It was just different, and it stood out on the entire record. Apparently, the song is about losing witnessing your friend kind of fade away after losing someone important in their life. So I'm pretty sure it was a friend losing their father and that friend being strongly impacted by that, obviously. And it's a friend witnessing that person kind of like fade away a little bit. So after reading that and then listening to the song, I went, oh shit, yeah, you can hear kind of the friend fade away. You can hear kind of like them fall out of your, like losing grip of them. And I went, fuck, that shit's tough.
Mm-hmm.
Great song. Loved it so much. It's so fucking good. Also, lyrically, I was, reading the lyrics as I was listening because sometimes it's a bit hard for me to focus on lyrics for new records. Lyrically, this shit is like a major step up because he's not just yelling about being angry about some random shit. Like, he's talking about his depression, he's talking about anxiety, he's talking about struggles in his life versus the debut where he's just like, fuck everything and fuck everyone. I fucking hate life. So even then, there's maturity, and they've already grown an incredible amount from their debut. Suicide Season, Diamonds Aren't Forever, Sleep with One Eye Open. I also liked Football Season Is Over, and then also The Come Down. To be fair, I only really enjoyed The Come Down in contrast to Suicide Season because it felt like the cycle repeating.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, because Suicide Season ends in such a melancholic way that the immediate thrust up into fucking crazy drums, crazy fucking instrumental of everything, and the screaming of the come down, I think contrasts it beautifully. Big fan, really like this record. I get it.
Damn. I wasn't expecting that, like I said. Damn, how the fuck do I even top that?
How'd you feel about the record, Shane?
Dude, I thought it was great. As we established with the first review, I've been a fan of Bring Me for a while now, and I am bringing glory into the lore with this series we're doing. So I've been familiar with this record. I always thought it slapped. Didn't spend a ton of time with it, but definitely am familiar with it. As we mentioned at the beginning, this is the shift from the deathcore to a little bit more metalcore. This album has influences from both. You mentioned the Come Down, this big, this in your face opening
Crazy
track. It's really like. It feels like a continuation of what they were doing on the last record with Count Your Blessings. It's like that very heavily deathcore influenced track. One of the only ones on the album that really are heavily like just straight deathcore. Any other songs on the record, it's like metalcore with some deathcore influences throughout throughout the tracks. But this one is just straight up in your face. Hello, welcome back. You don't know what the hell you're about to get yourself into if you were listening to this album for the first time in 2008, coming off of Count Your Blessings.
Imagine.
Dude, crazy.
I wish.
This was obviously a very divisive record within the fan base. Lost a lot of fans, but obviously gained a ton of new ones.
Yeah. Because honestly, this sound is a lot more. It's a lot more approachable.
Yeah.
I mean, still nowadays, a lot of people. It's death metal and deathcore is still a very niche genre in the scope of metalcore and metal and alternative scene. I feel like it's still a very specific itch to scratch. So, I mean, obviously, you're going to pick up a lot more people with fucking metalcore. I mean, new metal-esque, whatever the fuck they want to call it.
In your deathcore influenced metalcore.
Absolutely. No, yeah, give them their flowers, right?
Go.
Shout out.
Yeah.
Shout out.
There you go. I'm a big fan of Chelsea Smile. I know you're not the biggest fan of it, which
I think it's just okay. I don't hate it.
That's fair enough. I mean, I understand why it's a big song. What I like about this record with a song like Chelsea Smile or Diamonds Aren't Forever are these big like chantable moments on those songs that are the reason why they like it's that moment in the set where the music cuts out and you're screaming those lyrics back at the vocalist, at Ali, that I picture that when I'm listening to those tracks, and I dig that. So yeah, those are some of my favorites. I also really like Suicide Season. I've always thought it's a fantastic
So
closer.
good. Yeah.
I didn't know all the lore behind it. I took a little bit more of a literal meaning to it, as I did with the album title.
Mhm.
But it's super cool to know the actual meaning behind it.
What was your interpretation of it?
Like, just kind of, the ideas of like death and death by suicide and things like that, like taking the album title a little bit more
Like
literally, versus looking deeper into it,
Okay.
with what the song's actually about, like kind of losing a friend, but not in the literal sense to like suicide, but just like watching them kind of disappear from your life.
Yeah.
I would have taken it as like losing a friend to
Losing a friend directly.
to suicide.
Which still, I mean,
Yeah. But another song that I really dig is "It Was Written in Blood." It's probably got my favorite chorus on the record. It is,
Was Written in Blood.
obviously the chorus is a little bit repetitive. It's basically just a song title, but I think that I think that song is fucking phenomenal. Big shout out to the title, "No Need for Introductions." I've read about girls like you on the back of toilet doors.
So Panic at the Disco chorus.
Because
Jesus fucking Christ.
that is so 2008 metalcore right there, that title. And I like what they did with the first couple of records, where before the last track they would have a minute interlude placed right before the last track, and then have this big ending, because even though Count Your Blessings, the entire record was in your face, that was that nice peaceful moment.
Beautiful song.
Yes,
Yeah, that shit was great.
to build into "Off the Heeze," which was obviously just more in your face, but a great closer for that kind of record. And this kind of, this interlude, allows a break, because again, this album is another one where there's really no slow moments. It's straight up in your face. This allows it to slow down for a second, and then they have this big moment where it's fast, it's slow, it does a lot of things. It's not just another one where they're coming back in and rocking you. So I do like that. I think that the interludes are properly placed, properly timed, and aren't so atmospheric where they kind of take you out of the experience. But yeah, overall, I think it's an incredibly solid record, and I think it stood the test of time. Count Your Blessings is definitely a product of its time. It remains a product of its time. When I listen to it, it's because I want to be transported back to 2006 when I was 4 years old, and I wish that I was seeing Bring Me the Horizon in a sweaty British club at the ripe age of 4. Bummer I wasn't there. I was born in the wrong generation
What were you doing,
and
man?
the wrong
And the wrong
country.
country.
Yeah. My parents fucked up.
They did fully. Like,
Yeah.
what the hell?
Whereas this record, like you said, in the metalcore scriptures or whatever the fuck you said, it's definitely influential. This band is super influential to the scene and the genre. But this record, stands the test of time, and it you can see the growth. You can see what they did on this record that was then done in the genre by everyone else years later, because that was always like, they're always a band that's been ahead of the curve by a couple of years, which is why they've always been divisive. People don't know if they like it, but you always wind up enjoying it if you go back to it a couple of years later, because everyone is then doing that thing by then.
Exactly.
So it's like what they're doing in 2008, all the bands that I love, that were part of 2010's metalcore, were doing that style then. So yeah, I'm a big fan of this record. I'm excited to continue to dive in as we go deeper, because the discography only gets better and more polished from here.
Excited. I'm so excited, especially what Sempiternal's next. Sempiternal?
No, there's a Hell is next, and then it's Sempiternal.
I'm very excited for Sempiternal. That's like one that's the album. So we'll see.
Sandpit Turtle.
I know I was gonna say that, but I was like, I don't want to look like a fucking jackass on here. I don't know.
I'll look
Okay,
like
cool.
a jackass. It's fine.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. But yeah, those are our thoughts on Bring Me the Horizon's 2008 record, Suicide Season. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let us know your thoughts down in the description below. As we said, we've talked about Count Your Blessings and have already previously covered Posthuman Next Gen. So those are both linked below. We'll be covering the rest of the records for the next several weeks. So if you like Bring Me the Horizon, you like hearing our opinions, subscribe. It helps us out a ton. You can follow us on Twitter. It's Good Noise _Cast. Instagram's Good Noise Podcast. Facebook is Good Noise Pod. TikTok is Good Noise Podcast. Audio streaming services are Good Noise Podcast. And Patreon is patreon.com/Good Noise Podcast. But that's all we got for you. I've been Shane.
I've been Glory.
And we've been the Good Noise Podcast. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.